Oh, hey, I want to talk about Firefly for a second. Ugh, a game I really enjoy, but the box, not so much. I mean, if you look at the corners, they're really dinged up. This is just transporting it to a couple of conventions. It's also quite heavy, and it only contains part of the game, maybe major expansion or a couple of decks of cards. It doesn't contain this. It doesn't have these guys. They're not in there. It doesn't even have these dice in there. They could probably fit in there. I could probably shove those in there if I really... But this, the big rollout map, no, it's not in there because it's huge. And so I have to carry it in multiple bags or, just around like this. It doesn't work very well. There's a solution, though. Hang on. You knew I was getting to this. This is the Broken Tokens Big Dang Crate. It's not its real name. This promises to hold all of the official Firefly stuff, including that big map. And I'm relatively certain that they're not lying about that. However, I've built one of these things before for Pandemic. And I thought, I can do more than just build it, right? So there's two editions of this. You can get this edition, the basic edition, that you have to build yourself. It's unstained. It's sort of a basic color wood. But then there's something called the Mighty Fine edition, which you can purchase from the Broken Token website that's pre-assembled and pre-stained. I said, that's a pretty significant jump in price. I could probably stain this one and assemble it myself, and I'd end up with something relatively close to the Mighty Fine edition, right? I mean, I don't have a lot of experience staining things or woodworking, but I think I can do it. So I went to Home Depot, and I got all of this stuff. Not this stuff, that's for my drain. I got this stuff, stain, lacquer, cloths, all sorts of gloves, stuff to make this happen. Can I do it? I don't know. I don't have any idea, but we're going to find out together, okay? Let's do it. The crate arrives as 13 laser-cut sheets of wood, along with a few larger wood panels and plastic pieces. The step-by-step video produced by the Broken Token suggested staining all of the pieces while they're flat, before putting them together, and it recommended this gel stain for that purpose. I also went with some rubber gloves and painter's cloths for applying the stain. It took a while to get used to the process, putting the right amount of stain on the cloth and not getting it where it wasn't supposed to be. After letting the sheets dry overnight, I could start assembly, carefully punching out the pieces and following these clear instructions. All of the sheets and pieces are labeled, and the instructions are straightforward. Most of the joints were pretty tight, but several required some gluing in order to stay together. Once the trays and outer box were complete, I sealed the exterior with a few coats of spray lacquer. All in all, it took a pretty good chunk of time, maybe 8 to 10 hours, spread out over several days, waiting for glue or lacquer to dry and fixing any loose joints as I went. If you really tried, you could probably do it in a focused weekend. Still, the time investment is not insignificant. Even without the staining, don't expect to put this all together in just an hour or two. So here's what we ended up with. The outer box, with its cutout handles, houses a matrix of smaller trays and holders for the game components. The game boards and instructions lie on top, and there is a perfect trough for the vinyl map right above the ship trays. Each ship, including promo and expansion ships, is held securely by a clip away from the other ships, protecting painted components from each other. A small box on each end holds the optional player dice. A similar rack holds the NPC ships, though you need to put them back in a specific order in order to make them fit. Even if you don't paint your ships, I'd recommend gluing your ships to their bases to make sure the clips work as intended. 2 component trays, one for each end of the table, hold the small pieces like fuel tokens and cargo chits. I love the labels on the clear cover that keeps everything in place. The paper money lives in this labeled rack, and a similar organizer houses the setup cards. There's even a cute little stand for Wash's dinosaur / current player marker. Quite possibly the most useful innovation here is the card racks for the spaceport and contact decks. Each person or location deck gets its own slot for both the deck and the discards, and the racks stack and interlock to fit your table layout. One of the racks even has slots for the 3 wanted bounty cards that may be active at one time. It takes a little adjustment, especially if you're used to having all of the decks spread around the table, but this method certainly clears up some table space. All of this packs neatly back into the crate, speeding up both takedown and setup of the game. They even thought to include felt feet for the corners of the crate so it doesn't scratch your table. I didn't have the courage to perform the flip test, but you could hold this sideways under an arm without too much trouble. If I had any criticism of the design here, it would be that these handles are pretty shallow. Fully loaded, this thing is heavy, and I would have liked just a little more grip room. Still, this is a pretty minor quibble, and I could always hold it from the bottom if I was worried. All in all, the crate performs as expected. It's solid, it holds everything, it aids in organization while playing, and it makes an impression when you bring it to the table. Yes, it's an investment, but if you play a lot of Firefly and have been going crazy trying to store it all, this is an excellent solution. Highly recommended. Thanks for watching. For more Dice Tower videos, as well as my favorite board gaming podcast, please visit Dicetower.com. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. Cool stuff in stock at CoolStuffInc.com.